So we're here to talk about Open RAN. This is a big topic with lots of potential. I'm here with Konstantin from Juniper Networks. Konstantin, great to see you. Why is Juniper active in Open RAN?
Hi, Gabriele. Good to see you too. That's a good question. Well, Juniper has been a leader in high-performance networking, focusing on delivering SLA in very complex networking environments. Now, in the world of 5G now, we have a new opportunity to really stretch the SLA and the SLOs across the infrastructure, in an immense infrastructure, highly distributed infrastructure, all the way through the airwaves to the devices, right? Whether these are IoT devices or smartphones, smart cars, whatever. And ORAN gives us that opportunity because with the disaggregation, the software-driven radio, think of the radio intelligent controller as the operating system of the RAN. This is a greenfield opportunity. I believe that with the moves that Juniper did, with the acquisition of Netsia, perhaps the most innovative solution of the radio intelligent controller in the market today, we are now in a strong position to really bring the innovations that Juniper is known for across through the radio, as I said, and deliver strong SLAs to 5G devices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great point about bringing across, expertise and knowledge from other domains where there's really been a focus on performance and SLA and programmability, determinism, everything like that. So this RIC, this RAN Intelligent Controller product, that's a kind of key part of the ORAN architecture. What are you kind of expecting that to deliver for operators?
Right. I like to call the radio intelligent controller the operating system of the new disaggregated radio architecture, right? And if we think about it as such, which I believe it is, then we can start thinking about the applications we can run on the RIC, right? Essentially, ORAN specifies APIs on the DU side that allows us to hook into the low-level MAC layer scheduler and be able to modulate how resources over the air are allocated to competing flows, competing users, competing slices, and therefore using intelligence, real-time intelligence about how users behave, how the radio addresses demand. We can modulate resource allocation and deliver strong SLA, right? So Juniper is known for its transport networks. Actually, it foresaw the need to address some of the use cases of 5G, in particular network slicing. And today, Juniper supports network slicing across all of its transport products, right? So this was a natural evolution for us to move into a greenfield opportunity on the radio and provide applications that address everything from the well-known SON type of optimizations to new capabilities in the radio that have to do with very fine-grained smart admission control, network slice, SLA, assurance, strong visibility, that allows us to hook ML, AI type of applications and provide opportunities not just to do extreme optimization from the device perspective, from the network perspective, but also to open up opportunities for our customers, our operator customers, to monetize, the investment they have in the radios by offering new applications like spectrum sharing, massive MIME optimization, and on and on. And Juniper innovates and leads in that space, not just by being, the first in the world of radio access optimization through the RIC, but also in terms of some of the applications that we're bringing to the market.
Okay, and these applications, these XApps and RApps that run on the RIC platform, are these being internally developed by Juniper, or are you looking to partners or different if you put it this way, independent software vendors to come and fulfill some of that?
Absolutely, the success of ORAN depends on enabling operators to select the best of breed, right? So to that end, we have to support any type of XApp or RApp no matter where it comes from. So XApp and RR portability is absolutely strategic to the success of Oran, and we definitely support that through our SDK. But we're also developing our own XApps as well, which I think bring significant differentiation in the overall solution we bring to the market.
No, yeah, okay. I wanted to move on to you mentioned network slicing. That's obviously like a key capability in 5G, particularly if we think about enterprise services. Just to talk through a little bit how the RIC will help kind of enable operators to offer network slicing and over-the-air kind of service guarantees and things like that.
Right. I like to use an analogy that may sound a little preposterous when it comes to network slicing, right? What is network slicing? It can be anything from the familiar service chaining on one end of the spectrum to what I call an MVNO on top of a highly distributed tier one operator, including public cloud. So my goal and our goal at Juniper is to be able to programmatically, declaratively bring up an MVNO planet scale in a matter of a few hours, not months and years. That's a slice. That's the other end of the spectrum. So slice covers pretty much anything that you can think of, right? Tenancy. So you need to have separate, different tenants, with a strong SLA per tenant in terms of dimensioning, how many users each tenant, what type of connection, is that going to be an EMBB or a massive machine-to-machine communication type of a slice, or the familiar ultra low latency, high reliability type of slice, and everything in between those 3GPP defined use cases, right? So a slice can be anything, and we need to address segmentation, security, and above all, SLA. And having the ability to do so in an end-to-end fashion makes the RIC an absolutely necessary component to be able to stretch the SLA, to deliver the SLA over the spectrum. So we're taking a very broad view of network slicing, and as I'm sure you know, network slicing has been deemed to be perhaps the most important use case in 5G. And several analysts have attributed or have attached, hundreds of billions of dollars of monetization that will come through the benefit of network slicing networks for the operators in particular.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we saw a great example recently. Actually, we had an event on Open RAN, and one of the keynote speakers was from a Japanese operator, KDDI, and they showed a proof of concept they've been running with RAN slicing using a RIC, and they had a camera on the front of a train running through this really deep kind of urban canyon in Tokyo with gantries and metal and different moving trains. On the one hand, they showed performance, just on best effort, and it was up and down. Every time you went past a train came by, the performance was dropping and bursting all over the place. They ran the same camera on the same train with a RIC-enabled application, and it was just a solid 30 megabits per second downlink, barely any variation, just a proof of concept, but a really interesting one. You think what that could mean in future. So in the ORAN, we have this service management and orchestration layer. I guess what I'm interested in is how, when you talk about these SLAs and kind of supporting them end to end, how does the SMO tie in with the wider network orchestration picture?
The SMO is critical in being able to provision a slice across the three semantic domains, which is the radio, the transport, and the core. And we have multiple incarnations of the transport. For example, we have the mid-haul, front-haul, back-haul. We can have multiple instances of the core. And of course, the radio, can be realized through the edge cloud, a lot of the radio components. And we count there probably in the thousands, maybe for tier one, tens of thousands of clouds, edge clouds that host the DU, CU, etc. So how do you bring the benefit of network slicing across such an immense infrastructure and bring the locality aspect of it. Because you may want to have a slice that is local to a particular region, or it can be across the entire infrastructure. You need to deliver the SLA that ties how the rig works with the transport to ensure that, you know, SLA, the latency and the throughput are delivered across the infrastructure. You need to be able to provision, again, the core network functions to cope with the traffic and the dimensionality of the slice. So all of that comes together under the SMO, which is a fairly complex problem, right? And, you know, activity both within Juniper and across.
Yeah, fantastic. I look forward to seeing how this all evolves as, you know, as Juniper and your operator customers and the whole industry works through some of the challenges and puts this to work. Konstantin with Juniper Networks, thanks very much.